Welcome to the State and Local Government Committee meeting. Senator Williams, would you lead us in a prayer before we get going? Thank you.
Thank you. Let us bow. Dear Lord, thank you again for another day. Thank you for the opportunity and the blessings that you've bestowed upon each and every one of us. Thank you for the beautiful day and the opportunity to be here to work for the people. Please give us courage and wisdom and patience as we do the will of the people of the great state of Georgia. And bless the people of Israel. In thy name we pray, amen.
Thank you. 4 bills on the agenda. We do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to try to move along as best we can. First bill is HB 516.
Or nice morning. I heard y'all started early this morning. I did too. I was here. Were you? Yes, sir.
Well, that's a great thing.
It was.
We senators are here already.
I know. But
Mr.
I
Whip.
hope you're having a good day.
Mr. Whip, I am curious, did Chairman Powell, did he make it on time?
That was my question.
Did I require him to be on time? Yes, sir. He was there at 6 a.m. because when Chairman Powell asked me if he needed to be, and I told him yes, we'd love to hear his legislation, and I made sure that everybody that attended got a chicken biscuit and a cup of coffee, and we had a 3-hour subcommittee meeting on speed cameras because the House could not decide which one they liked the best. So we're going to do what we do on this side of the building. We're going to take care of it for the good citizens of the great state of Georgia.
Make it a great bill, I'm sure.
And we appreciate it. Thank you.
Representative Newt, please go ahead.
So we're starting with LC 443159S. It's a sub. Just want to make sure we're all working with House Bill 516, the right one. And I also have with me today the state librarian, Julie Walker. And I also have with me for the community service boards, Ellen Reynolds. And this bill allows for county and regional library boards and community service boards to conduct meetings through teleconferencing. It also requires the meetings to be held at a physical location with at least 20% of the board members physically present. They shall provide one or more methods for public viewing of such meetings and provide commentary for such meetings without being physically present at the meeting. So this bill will help them recruit, retain, and allow for good stewardship of taxpayers' dollars. I also put in for the community service boards, just so you could see that we have community service boards. These volunteers have up to 15 counties that they serve. And so that would really help if we could allow them to telecommunicate, as well as the library boards. They have up to 7 counties that they also, these trustees and volunteers, they work with. But that is the bill, and I appreciate being able to present it again.
Thank you. Mr. Whip.
Thank you. Can you tell me what exactly community service boards do?
So they are a member, they are part of, yes, sir, I can. They are the Georgia Association of Community Service Boards. They lead and develop operations of public disability services, which includes mental health, intellectual, developmental disabilities, addictive diseases, which is the MHDDAD, which are community-based and comprehensive in range, involving consumers and their families in their design and in their governance.
I've not changed anything yet. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, to your witness, can you tell me the responsibilities of the regional of the Board of Trustees of any county or regional public library?
Yes, sir, I certainly can.
And I want to start out by telling you that I have Columbus, I have LaGrange, and we have good-sized, well-used public libraries in both those places.
Yes.
We have them in my other counties too, but those 2 places predominantly. So
They absolutely do. The library boards of trustees are designated in the state law as being the governing bodies of the libraries. So they hire the library director and serve as that library director's supervisor. They set all the policies for the library. So they are appointed by the local government authorities who fund the library. So counties, cities, and some boards of education who fund the libraries all appoint those trustees, and that board essentially is the responsible governing body.
So if you will, Mr. Chairman, so that board basically, like you said, they hire the librarian,
Right.
and either that board or the librarian develops all the policies for that library to include content. Would that be correct?
Correct, that is correct.
And you know, I don't think I'm speaking secrets when I tell you. I'm sure you're aware, as is everybody, the controversy that's been going around libraries. And if the chair doesn't mind, you know, most of my life I was primarily raised by a single mother, and the library at the school I went to was my favorite place to go. I'm an avid reader. I love music. I can't sing, I can't write, but I love to read and I love to listen to music. And so libraries are extremely important, especially public libraries. Myself and former Mayor Jim Thornton worked together and helped put a new library there in LaGrange several years ago, and big fans of libraries. And my biggest fear is that they're going to continue to be infected by politics. And so my concern is seeing how citizens, parents, and others have been disregarded by those individuals that operate libraries. Last year, Chairman Larry Walker came out with a great piece of legislation dealing with the American Library Association, which I will say publicly is a horrific group. So there is where my concern lies when we're having a board meet online. And I've worked with the chairman, and I've spoke to Representative New, and she has been very kind through this process of us trying to find a balance in there, because I can't speak for Senator Ginn, but I know Senator Ginn has some of those same concerns as I do, that it's hard for the public to comment online if somebody doesn't want to hear what they have to say. So that's my biggest fear of allowing this thing to occur, and I hope you understand that. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the mission of the library. I'm just concerned if we hand this ability to hide behind a computer screen to some people, that they may abuse that. And if you can speak to anything that's preventative that can prohibit that, I would love to hear that.
I would be happy to. The thing that I love about the structure in Georgia is that these boards are very local, because community standards differ from place to place. So these people are appointed by the county commissioners, the city council persons, and the Board of Education to represent those community interests and values. And I have worked with boards. I train boards of trustees. These are just dedicated people who are not getting paid at all to provide this service, and who really are trying to be that conduit between the community and the library. So I love that structure. I'm happy that it's not something that we do from the state. I'm happy that it's done locally. I think that Representative New's bill certainly does intend to continue those in-person meetings. I think they will always continue. I think what she is trying to do in order to help us is sometimes the libraries are struggling to get a quorum so that they can't approve their budget. A lot of them only meet quarterly, and they've got business they need to attend to. But when you're a 7-county region, and sometimes the meetings are at night, or sometimes they're when someone is traveling out of town for business and they can't attend, they have a hard time getting a quorum to conduct their business. So she's just trying to give us a mechanism so that they can function. And every board of trustees that I have worked with really welcomes that public comment. I know sometimes it can get political and contentious, but largely they want to hear from the public so that they can do their work to maintain the library that the people want.
Has there been any further effort to separate the American Library Association from the requirement of hiring librarians?
So far, they are the only body in America that accredits library school programs. And that's the only, and that's a completely separate arm of ALA where they accredit those library schools, and they are the only body who can perform that. I'm not really a huge higher ed person, so I'm not sure of all the pieces that go into accreditation, but I know it's very complicated, and there's just nobody else to do that work right now.
Tell me the downside of y'all doing away with that accreditation requirement for librarians.
I think it's a slippery slope of then who could actually serve as a librarian, and you might be getting people who were not trained, who did not have that 2-year master's degree in how to run a library.
But that's done here in Georgia, correct?
Oh, the library school?
Yes, ma'am.
There is a library school at Valdosta State
And
University.
it is the
yes,
only
sir.
library
It is
school
the
in
only
Georgia,
one,
right?
Correct.
And we have librarians working around the country that went to school there at Valdosta
We
State,
surely
correct?
do. Mhm.
So wouldn't a master's degree from Valdosta State be enough to ensure you or you and your partners that those individuals will be qualified to operate libraries without the affiliation of the ALA?
Absolutely, but so far that all the library schools feel that accreditation, so Valdosta is accredited by ALA, and all the library schools feel that that's important because it's required in other states.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate it, and I do understand. I've read Bowling Alone, so I do understand how difficult it is to get individuals to volunteer for service boards and other types of boards in today's world where people choose to disengage from their civic responsibilities. So I do appreciate that and look forward to the conversation. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you.
Thank you for the question, Senator.
Senator again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative New, I want to thank you for tweaking the bill a little bit. I did have one thing that maybe I miscommunicated when we were talking in our last committee meeting. On line 38, you have shall be held in a physical location with at least 20% of the board members present. But my goal there was to make sure that no more than 20% was absent. After our discussion yesterday, and you told me, that was how you had gotten interpreted, and I apologize if I miscommunicated. But what I'd like to do is with the committee's help, is to strike 20% and make that 66%, which would basically mean 2/3 of the board would need to be there to be at a meeting when they have a meeting. And I know there's times when you might not have a quorum. We see that here at the Capitol. We see that in a lot of boards. But I think it's important for the public to be able to know that, hey, if they're going to take action on something, 2/3 of the people are there that are on that board that are going to be involved in it. And it's not done as just a small group or something, and it's not done electronically, because I think it's important for people to be able to do face-to-face interaction. And that's why, for the most part, everything we do here at the Capitol is face-to-face. And I think it's important for people to be able to voice their concerns and do it in a public setting. So, Mr. Chairman, whenever we get to that point, I want to make that amendment to the bill once we get to that posture.
Okay. Representative New, what is the percentage that creates a quorum for these boards?
So 2/3 is your quorum, right?
It varies from system to system. It's in their constitution and bylaws. A lot of them is 50% plus one member,
Okay.
and then some of them are 2/3.
And then for community service boards,
It does vary from service board to service board, but usually it's 50 plus one. And I just, for the service boards, I would like to add I would like to ask you to consider maybe separating.
Mr. Chairman, could
Yeah.
she,
If
could she
you-
come
yeah.
up and get on mic?
Yeah. And if you would, state your name.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ellen Reynolds with the Community Service Boards. And I just wanted to ask, so if we could possibly consider bifurcating out the community service boards. We are the mental health provider of last resort for the payer
If
of
you would
last
speak into
resort.
the microphone.
Yeah, for the
Thank you.
payer of last resort, which is Medicaid, and for the indigent. And so a disproportionate percentage of our population has transportation issues. And to share with you thank you. To share with you just one district, the Northeast District is 3,400 square miles. This is actually going to make board meetings much more accessible for our population. And so it will give them a chance to have a voice, whereas, for example, the Northeast Georgia one, it's a 90-minute drive through hills and valleys, and and the board meetings are at night because several people work during the day, included elected officials that are on the board. And so several have declined to participate, resigned, and or they had an appointee decline the invitation this year because they couldn't access it. But I think no other healthcare provider is required to have a mandatory minimum. We're fine with 20%. I think 66% gets difficult.
You said that your requirement for a meeting was over 50%?
For quorum, yes, sir.
For quorum, so it takes at least 50%. And I could probably live with dropping it from 66 to 50%. So I want to make sure that we've got a good representation of board members there. If 50% works for the community service board, I don't want to do them any different than I would the libraries. And I think it's important for people to be able to have that meeting and have it in a situation where board members are present.
I hear you. I think I was asking us to be treated like other medical providers, since we are a major medical provider, is the reason I was asking us to be classified as, because if we don't have a quorum, and it happens as much in DeKalb as it does in some of our rural areas, then there is no access to the board. And this is a population, like I said, that very frequently has transportation issues and is not going to have any access if they don't live right around where the board meeting is held.
I spent 20 years on a library board in Athens and Madison County. I've done a lot of things to help on my libraries. Never served on the community service board, but I'm going to tell you, for me, when you take that pledge that, hey, I'll serve on this board, I'll do this, there's an obligation that comes with that. If you don't want to, if you don't want to serve, then let somebody else take that role. And that's where, for me, I want to make sure that, these are positions of public trust, and I think the community needs to have a say-so in whether it be the library or community service board. So I'm going to ask for my
Thank you, Mr.
fellow
Chairman.
committee members
I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to be clear, this may have been said earlier, whether it's the community service board or the library board, these folks are not compensated for their time.
That is correct.
And they're not receiving per diem.
Correct.
And in my experience with local government, a lot of these boards, whether it's a state entity or a local one, they're very hard to fill because people are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. So I'm wondering, because I understand the senator's point as far as having a higher number. What I heard was for the community service board, it's 50% for quorum.
Yes, sir.
For the library, it's
50, sometimes 50, sometimes 2/3. They vary from system to system.
okay. I'm just wondering if there's a way to make it so that it's fair to the people who are volunteering for this and having to drive 90 minutes after work anywhere is hard. And I'm wondering if there's 66 may be high. Is it can we do 40% or 33%, which is a third, which is the in between half and or quorum? It's 50% of quorum. Wondering if that would suffice there.
Ma'am, with the library board, I didn't get your name. If you could speak into a mic.
Yes, sir. It's Julie Walker.
Okay, thank you. Senator again.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate Senator Estevez, and for me, when she said 50%, I said, okay, I really wanted 2/3 of the people there, but if her quorum's 50%, I said, let's make it 50%. I can drop that low. I really don't want to go any lower, and I apologize for the miscommunication that we had in our last meeting. I was just saying, hey, let's let 20% of them leave. That way, if you got a 5-member board and one of them's absent, they are doing it online. That's okay. But I get down below 50%. I really don't have much of a public input into that face-to-face that needs to take place to you know, these people are making changes in your community, whether it be on the community service board or in your library. And all I'm trying to do is, you know, having been that guy that's volunteered to serve at no compensation and things there for years, and I love libraries. I mean, you know, I think Ms. Walker will attest that she was the assistant director back in the Athens Regional System when I was on that board. I actually named a library reading room in the Piedmont circuit in honor of my mom, because like my friend the whip here said, my mom took 5 children to the library every summer for a lot of times to make sure that we could read and write. And I want to make sure that when we pass this, that there is public input into the decisions that are made. So I'll ask for that when we get to that point.
Representative New, as far as reducing that down to where you've got to have a 50% that show up in person, and that would, in most cases, create a quorum. As they meet, do they, in each one of these regions, is there just one location they meet every time, or can they move it? And the reason I'm asking is when you got 15 counties, it could be a 2-hour drive across the.
Right.
Do they move those meetings like we're?
Most, again, they all do their own thing, but most of them meet at the headquarters library, which is typically kind of central.
Okay.
But then some of them do move from county to county just to make it more equivalent for all the members to be able to attend.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and just reminder, I've got 3 more bills on the agenda. Wanting to. Yeah.
I just
Go
have
ahead.
a question. The 50% requirement would only be for the Public Library Board and the Community Service Board. We wouldn't require it of hospital authorities, board trustees of large retirement systems, development authorities, CIDs.
That's correct. Yeah,
So-
it's
so this would
narrowly
be-
tailored to those 2
This would
boards.
be a requirement only for the library and the community service boards.
That's correct.
Okay.
Senator again, Chair to entertain a motion.
I move to pass LC 443159S and would offer an amendment.
Yeah, then we got it. So we got a motion and a second for approval of the bill. Oh, hold on one second, Senator. So we got a motion and a second do pass on the substitute. Now you want to,
Yes, sir. I'd offer the amendment on line 31 to change the 20 after least to 50, and on line 38 to change the 20 after least to 50.
okay, so we've got a motion do pass on the amendment.
That was my motion to make the amendment.
And I'll second that amendment.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we've got a motion do pass on the amendment that was read by Senator again. We got a second from our whip. Any discussion on this?
Just very quickly on the amendment, I support the underlying bill. On the amendment, I just feel that it's unfair to put that burden on public libraries and community service boards that we would not put on development authorities, CIDs, and everyone else. But support the underlying bill and appreciate you bringing it.
And I'd look for future legislation on those. I mean, you know, that's one of those things that somebody can always do. So but that's what we're dealing with today. So
we've got a motion do pass on the amendment. We got a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Yeah, passes 5-1. Now we'll take up the underlying committee substitute. We've got a motion do pass and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, let me make this clear.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the existing law A, B, and C, and D are not existing law at this current time. Is that correct? Is the existing law That's existing law.
That's correct.
The only the underline is being proposed. Okay,
That's correct.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to HB 309. Oh, who's your Senate sponsor? Representative New? Thank you. Representative, please proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I know y'all got at least two more after mine, so I'll be short and sweet. This is House Bill 309. There was no substitute, so I'm not sure we could be not working on the correct form. Simple, when a county wants to create a police department, this is not a city police, this is obviously not sheriff's, a county police department. The county commissioners vote to create said police department. At that point, it goes to the citizens for a vote. That is current law. In order to get rid of that same police department, county police department, the commissioners vote and it's gone. This bill enacts that in order to get rid of that police department, the commissioners would vote on it and it goes back to the citizens. So essentially the way that it is created would be the same way that it is abolished. So that's the short and sweet of it. Take any questions.
Any comments, questions?
Just gotta ask the question. Is this in response to the Black Lives Matter movement? Get rid of police, or what precipitated this legislation? That was a loaded question.
No, sir. The purpose of this bill is, again, just to give the citizens a voice. We've heard of counties that are on their third police department in a very short amount of time. I guess just to be blunt, if a commissioner creates a police department, they have absolute control over them. If they don't like it, they vote to abolish it, and then a couple months later, they just create another one. They're appointing the chief, they're appointing everybody. So again, this just it goes back to the way it was created originally, which is the people's vote.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further comments, questions? Senator again.
I guess I'm kind of curious. I'm a two-time city and one-time county manager. And when I think about creating a police force or not, you know, a lot of rural counties, the county I managed, the sheriff was the law enforcement throughout the county. We didn't have a county police department. So when I look at, you know, abolishing this, I think, okay, if a city wanted to abolish their police force, you don't say a city or a county. And I know there's, you know, had some cities in the county I managed where they didn't have a police force. So if you wanted to abolish a city police force, would you not want to see the same type of vote go before that?
To be honest with you, I'm not as familiar with how the city police are created. I know obviously cities are in counties and the sheriffs could work as that, but the city police department's being, I guess, a little bit of a different arm.
Because I look at, there's several things. I mean, I look at school systems have police departments. Mm-hmm. You know, your local school systems, they've got folks. Your universities have police departments. Colleges have police departments. There's so many police departments, and I'm just wondering, okay, why pick on county police departments? I don't know, you know, maybe you can explain what counties you've seen this fail in, but I don't know what brought you about the legislation. I'm kind of curious just how it would work.
Yes, sir. So I guess this came from, and I apologize, I cannot remember the county. There's only about 12 counties in the state of Georgia that actually have a county police department.
Gwinnett being one of the biggest ones.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I have heard of other, I believe it was smaller counties, where situations where the commissioners and the sheriffs didn't agree on multiple instances, and therefore the commissioners created a police department, essentially making the sheriff just a jailer. Again, in order to do that, though, the people get a vote in this. This is, again, just to kind of go back to the same thing. If what they created or something happens and they still can't get along, they can't just continue to move back and forth and get rid of people over and over again. It would have to go back to the citizens. You know, it's a money saving thing. It's some consistencies as far as who is and isn't protecting people. I mean, you have a sheriff rolling back and forth between different duties. So, I mean, if we wanted to expand this, to me, this is just a start. I definitely think cities, it would be something we should look at, you know, and really all law enforcement. But this is honestly some low-hanging fruit of something that isn't going to have quite the impact as far as a negative aspect of it and people getting upset and feel like, I mean, as Senator said, this isn't a reflection of the Black Lives Matter and defunding the police. That's I guess why we're not doing anything with the city piece. This is just more of how the counties handle this function.
Mr. Whip?
Yeah, Representative Clifton, I know the public safety representative from GMA's here, and he'll jump up if I'm wrong, but I believe municipal police departments are created in the charter when the city is chartered. Based on the Georgia Constitution, it gives certain requirements that a municipality has to have to become a municipality, as the chair is very well aware over the creation of cities, that we look into the Constitution. So municipalities, for them to get rid of a police department, it would have to be written into their charter, either a process of, and mostly I think charters are reviewed every 10 years. And so when the charter review came up, they theoretically could remove the police department from there. But most charters have not only, say if you use Macon Bibb, not only if, or we could use Columbus Muskogee, it has the police department in there, the sheriff's office in there, and describes the responsibilities of both. And in your situation that you're talking about, they could create a county police department. It goes a little more than making the sheriff the jailer. The sheriff would continue to be over all the courts, with the exception of any city courts, and the sheriff would still be responsible for civil process. But you're correct in most of that. And in this situation, Mr. Chair, I think we ran into this problem several years ago in a county down on the coast where citizens wanted to, the commission was having this problem where they kept firing the police department, and citizens wanted some pushback on it. I'm trying to remember Senator Ligdon's former district where they ran into this. And so, but I do think the representative has is right in that if we create something a certain way, then it's probably the best way to disband it too. And having a former election supervisor on the committee, I think, helps with an understanding of what's required to do the referendum and the other things should that happen.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion. We've got a motion, do pass. We've got a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes 5-1. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, who's your Senate sponsor?
Mr. Whip here has agreed to carry this bill for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next up is HB 513.
My name is John LaHood, and I'm here to speak for the chair.
Well, Representative, you got remarkably taller and better looking.
And much uglier, right? A lot less hair and a lot more gray, for sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, on behalf of Chairman LaHood, who's out of the Capitol on business today, I want to bring you House Bill 513. This is a revision to House Bill 1407 that passed last year. It cleans up some language and it clarifies some key components. I want to direct you, first of all, to lines 39 through 49. This is a service delivery strategy bill. I think Chairman Ginn recalls the year we spent working through some of these challenges. But essentially, it just provides some additional it clarifies and expands certain additional sources of revenues for counties. You'll notice on line 43, it adds solid waste franchises. On 44, it adds alcohol licensing fees. And 47, it adds zoning fees. So it expands the services that counties can generate revenues. Okay, and then if you look carefully at lines 54 really through 60, there's a reporting responsibility. So in conjunction with ACCG and GMA, as they crafted this language and got it to a point where they were comfortable, it requires the counties to provide an annual report which shows the funds that were received by the county and from what sources that they were received. And then finally, in lines 61 to 62, it verifies that those funds were used appropriately, so that any funds collected in unincorporated areas would be used in unincorporated areas. And cities would not be responsible for unincorporated responsibilities. It aligns really the intent of the Georgia Service Delivery Strategy law, and it ensures fairness and accountability. I have ACCG and GMA with me here today, and I'm happy to take questions, and I'm happy to consider alternatives. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have two folks signed up to speak. First up, Jim Thornton, GMA.
Would you like us to come up together?
Come up together.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jim Thornton with GMA, and Larry Ramsey, General Counsel for ACCG, is here with me as well. And Senator Burns did a great job explaining what this bill does. It does come by agreement of GMA and ACCG. As many of you know, because it came through this committee last year, we did work long and hard on HB 1407, which was the first major update to the Service Delivery Act in 20 years. So it had been 20 years since that act had been updated, and we did a lot of things in 1407. One of the things that we did try to do was address this tying of unincorporated revenue to unincorporated services, because that was the whole point, or one of the principal objectives of the original service delivery bill. And so we did that, and when we did so, as many of you all know, language matters, and ands and ors matter. And so when we drafted that 1407 last year, we created 4 buckets, if you will, of revenue that counties can draw from to fund unincorporated area services, and we put in an or in that. And so it made it sound like they had to pick from one of those 4 buckets, and that was not the intent. The intent of the bill was that they could use any of those buckets of revenue to fund unincorporated services. So we've clarified that now with an and, with an inclusive list. And then also the other thing that the whole goal here from GMA and ACCG has been to try to minimize conflict. And so one way to minimize conflict is to have an annual accounting process, so that there would be an annual report that just connected the dots. So that's the cleanup bill in 513. And again, that language is something that our lawyers and ACCG's lawyers have worked on closely. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, but also would like to let Mr. Ramsey from ACCG speak to it.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. To Jim's point, and I appreciate GMA working with us on this. In my experience, my pre-ACCG days, no issue caused more consternation and fighting among counties and cities than how counties fund unincorporated services. That is always in dispute, and it's often litigated. And through 1407 last year, we were trying to add clarity, and this bill adds further clarity because, you know, lawyers are going to lawyer, right? And I can say that because I am one. We're trying to make this as clear as possible that if a county has a service that's primarily benefiting the unincorporated areas, then it can use one or more of the unincorporated revenues that you see here, matching it up, as Jim said. So again, we appreciate GMA's work on this, appreciate Senator Burns and Representative LaHood on this, and happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from the committee? Mr. Whip?
To Mr. Thornton, is there any amendments going to be offered on this legislation?
So there is. I was going to let Chairman Burns speak to that, and I can address it as well.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, that's right. with an abundance of caution. We acknowledge the fact that the legislation might be misconstrued to think that this would require or necessitate a review and revision of the approved strategy under the code section, and we want to clarify that. Now, we think, again, the lawyers are in the room, we think that the bill as it stands would not necessitate a review or revision of the approved service delivery strategy. However, if we included this adjusted amendment, it would clarify that. It would clarify that. Now, the downside, of course, is if we make an amendment and we vote on it in the Senate, then it would have to go back to the House for an agree. That would be a delay of the process and hopefully not jeopardize the overall underlying bill. But I'll be happy to ask ACCG and GMA to speak to it, or I'm happy to take input from the committee.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, just address that. So just as a reminder, House Bill 1407 has not gone into effect yet. It had a delayed effective date of January 1, 2026, and so that bill has not gone into effect yet. We need this cleanup in 513 before it goes into effect in January, because that would cause lots of problems and issues if we don't get the cleanup. So this bill is a critical priority for both GMA and ACCG to get that through. In reviewing the legislation, as I think I sometimes say, you ask 10 lawyers, you get 12 different opinions, right? So we have differences of opinions among the lawyers about what the effect of 1407 was. And honestly, this is not a 513 issue. This goes back to 1407, because in 1407, that list changed of what the unincorporated services might be. And there are some attorneys that believe that that change by the General Assembly could necessitate all 159 counties and all of their 537 cities renegotiating service delivery strategy in 2026. And nobody thinks that's a good idea. I will tell you, having been a mayor, having gone through 2 service delivery negotiations, I would never do that voluntarily. I mean, that is something you do on a 10-year rotational cycle. It just causes too much conflict and discussion to do it midstream. So what Chairman Burns explained is this amendment, we think, is a restatement of current law. We don't think that this amendment changes the law, but there are differences of opinions over that. And so it's being offered, I think, as a way to just clarify that when you all did change the list of services, of revenues, that alone was not intended to force all 159 counties to renegotiate their service delivery strategy in January of 2026. So that's what that amendment does. And I'll let Mr. Ramsey speak.
Yes, just to follow up on Jim's comment, I'm certainly one of the lawyers that thinks this amendment is not needed. I think our organizations are on the same page. There's also no harm from the amendment, except, as Chairman Burns said, to slow down the process. So this, I think it's fairly clear that this bill in 1407 from last year is not requiring renegotiations. These are provisions that have to be, once you're in negotiations, have to be taken into account in developing the strategy document. Again, so I do not think this is necessary. It's also, again, not harmful except to the process if this amendment goes forward.
So we'll defer the will of the committee.
Mr. Whip?
First of all, we've got 2 attorneys, so I know we have 4 opinions.
Very true.
Point of clarification, is it not true that James Oglethorpe, when he founded Georgia, outlawed alcohol, slavery, and lawyers? Such a wise man. Mr. Chair, when the time is right, I would make a motion to
It's
pass.
the time. Yep.
Thank you.
We got a motion do pass. Hold on one sec. So we got a motion and a second. And then you got, pull your mic towards you if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Where it says A strategies, A singular, strategies plural, on the section 2,
Section 2.
on the amendment.
Well, we're not considering the amendment. All right. The amendment's not your.
I thought you didn't do the amendment. You didn't do the amendment.
I just made the motion.
Oh. Thank you. All right. I'm ahead of myself.
So we've got a motion and a second do pass on the underlying bill. We've had an amendment proposed.
You don't,
Make a motion on the amendment.
And, Mr. Chair, I think we make the correction as we make the motion and the amendment's read, so we don't have to go back and amend the amendment.
say that again.
So I think we take out the A.
Yeah.
I think you could just take out the A.
The amendment that Chairman Williams would be offering would be the amendment with the A also, therefore it would be a proper strategy.
At least they agree on English.
So we've got a motion do pass on the amendment removing the A. So we've got a motion and a second on the underlying amendment. All in, or any discussion on the amendment? All in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimous. Now we'll take up the underlying bill. We've got a motion and a second do pass on it, dealing with LC 473380. All
Amended.
As amended.
as amended. All in favor? Raise your hand. Passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up. Next up, HB 647.
You got a summary on 647?
Mr. Chairman, members, this is LC 620136.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. This bill is annexing 45 small parcels into Mulberry. All of these parcels are in my district specifically. I started off as a planning commissioner before I came here, and I went to many HOA meetings, I went to many home meetings, and the biggest concern was the density, that nobody was listening to the local people. And that's how Mulberry was born. These specific parcels are a mixed use of residential dwellings, commercial properties, and undeveloped land. And they're primarily located on the one road that goes from 85 up to 325 and 124. So it's just one road. What this is allowing is for local control of Mulberry to make the decisions instead of the bigger commissioners that are not even touching this area. Can I take any questions at this point?
Thank you, Representative. Any comments, questions from the committee? Thank you. We've got one person signed up to speak, the county attorney from Gwinnett County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Very quickly, I just wanted to say,
Oh,
Sure.
and then please state your name. Thank you.
Mike Ludwizak. And I wanted to state the basis of Gwinnett County's opposition to this bill. Primarily, this bill and the process that was undertaken represents a pretty radical departure from the way Gwinnett County has dealt with our cities in the past and dealt with legislative annexations in the past. Most recently, I think this is exemplified by the process that this body is pursuing on a much larger legislative annexation that involves the city of Lawrenceville. Just to compare and contrast that to the process that was followed here with Lawrenceville, we received much advance notice from Lawrenceville many months in advance. We received a map and we received a comprehensive financial analysis from Lawrenceville. In this instance, the very first notice that we received about this annexation, which affects our residents, of course, and affects the county financially, of course, was when this bill was first introduced. So that represents a pretty radical departure. As I said, with Lawrenceville, we were provided with a financial impact analysis so much time in advance that the county was able to have our own financial impact analysis performed to see what kind of impact that was going to have on the county. Immediately after that was provided to us by Lawrenceville, our city manager, the city manager for Lawrenceville and our county administrator engaged in discussions and a collaborative effort to see if they could reach some agreement and both support a proposed annexation that both could support. And that's exactly where they ended up. I mean, they arrived at, it's House Bill 739, supported by both the city of Lawrenceville and Gwinnett County. There was bipartisan support for that bill. None of that has happened in this process. There's been no advance notice. There's been no collaborative efforts or even the opportunity or the time to have a collaborative effort between Gwinnett County and the city of Mulberry. What's more, in the Lawrenceville situation, of course, that bill provides for a referendum that the city residents are county residents are gonna have the opportunity to weigh in on whether they wanna be part of the city. That is not the case here with this legislation and this process. As far as I know, there's been no polling process, no information campaign, nothing like that. The Lawrenceville annexation is one very large bill. This process has been undertaken, annexations for Mulberry in this legislative session, also through Senate Bill 139, which recently passed the General Assembly. And so in this instance, you have two separate smaller bills. And so the question arises as to why those weren't combined. And as I understand it, there is overlap between parcels that were identified in Senate Bill 139 as well as the parcels, some of the parcels that were identified here. So we do have very grave concerns about the process and how it was pursued in this instance, very different from how we've dealt with our cities in the past. And I think, unfortunately, the result of this process is that it's going to result in really no say for the county and, unfortunately, no say for these county residents. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, one comment I would make, on these two annexation bills. It's not, uncommon for a new city to come in, request annexation, especially dealing with commercial nodes where the city has one half or, one corner of that node, and then annexing the balance, to have control over, architecture and kind of the vision of the municipality on the direction they want that corridor to go. And, in all due respect, to you as well, but, the whole reason that we're here is the majority of the county commissioners didn't listen to the citizens dealing with land use. And then once the city was ratified by the voters and came into fruition, the mayor and city council were ignored by Gwinnett County for months on any type of intergovernmental agreement, any service delivery agreement. All calls went unanswered. And so, which became, necessity for SB 138, the SB 139, and now this House bill we've got before us today. It's my understanding that, once the SB 138 and 139 passed out of committee in the House, the county did contact the city for the first time. But unfortunately, in my opinion, a little too late. Not sure what would happen with those negotiations once we were out of session. And the city of Mulberry is just trying to get off the ground and thrive and flourish and accommodate the request of its citizens. And just want to urge Gwinnett County to understand that the city of Mulberry citizens are still Gwinnett County citizens. Just want to say that, Mr. Whip.
To the witness, and I apologize, your last name again?
Ludwizak.
Lumazak?
Ludwizak. Wizak.
Ludwig-Zach. Yes, sir. Mr. Ludwig-Zach, you said there hadn't been any cooperation, coordination between the county and the city. Has there been since this process started?
I think there has. I mean, I've had extensive conversations with the city attorney for the city of Mulberry since the very beginning of the year.
Yes, sir.
And was promised, or told both in correspondence, verbally. I think there was discussion about it in the city of Mulberry meetings that an intergovernmental agreement was being prepared, a comprehensive agreement to address service delivery. That goes back to the very beginning of the year. And as you know, we never received that. The next thing that we received was notice of Senate Bill 138, which obviously took it out of that kind of local cooperative process and really just turned it into a legislative process.
Having sat on this committee for a few years, I just have seen in here during the creation of this city a lack of cooperation that we have rarely seen in other situations. And it seems like a lot of times it comes from, and look, I respect your position, I respect your profession, but it seems it comes from the county side in more times than from the city side. And so with that, Mr. Chair, when the time is right,
Yeah, this would be the time. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to pass.
Thank you. We've got a motion to pass on House Bill 647, working off of LC 620136. Do we have a second? We've got a motion and a second to pass. Any discussion from committee?
I actually had questions before the motion, but the light was blinking. And happens towards the end. Question about can you, to the author representative, can you describe the parcels that are incorporated through this annexation?
Yes, so they are, it's 45 small parcels. They are small commercial, some land, and a few residents.
Okay. Is there concern based on what the county attorney said about the lack of coordination with the bills that have already passed through this chamber, that there might be some confusion there that might lead to some issues?
I can answer that. I know the city, of course, both of these annexation bills came at the request of the city of Mulberry. They did take all of the necessary legal steps to notify its residents. And, I would also say, separate from the bill, as we were going through the incorporation process, and thereafter, many citizens that were, adjacent to the city or across the street from the city, expressed interest in being, annexed in the city, and were upset that they were left out. But with that, we've got a motion and a second to pass. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 3-2. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Sure.
Make sure that all members voted. All committee members voted.
You did not vote?
Yeah, it's,
What's that?
He must vote under the Senate rules.
Okay.
Unless there's a
and I think the conflict has to be verbalized to the committee if there is one, just to make sure we don't violate any rules.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Mr. Whip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have enough information to step on one toe or the other, because I'm stepping on the county's toe or the city's toe, and I think there was a bill that would allow some resolution so that there will be a mediator in the future. Is that right, Mr. Chairman, so that we won't be fighting from now on in infinitum?
Mr. Chair, point of order. I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the senator, and there are many times that myself and the good senator that sits across from me agree on things, and we just want to keep everything in line. So Senate rules require that everybody votes, and I feel if the senator feels he doesn't have enough information, then he feel free to vote against the bill. But that for us to keep everything tight, I would ask that the vote be asked for again, and that hands be raised and that we get an accurate count of votes in order to make sure that this piece of legislation is not derailed or pushed to the side.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Whip, for
Thank
that,
you,
for
sir.
that clarification. Yeah, we've got a motion do pass, we've got a second. Per Senate rules, all members that are present in a committee meeting do have to vote. So if you would vote, and we've got another
Yeah,
committee waiting to
sure.
start right behind us, so
Parliamentary inquiry.
state your inquiry.
Does this legislation impact a mediation of another pending bill or existing bill to resolve disputes between counties and cities?
No, sir. No, it's
All
just
right.
purely an annexation bill.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes 5-2. Thank you. 3-2. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you all for being
Thank
here.
you.